My parents didn't go to church when I was a kid, but I came to faith in my mid-teens, and it was brilliant. I think in many ways it was brilliant because it was so simple, and it all seemed just great. We went to brilliant youth conferences. The worship was fantastic. I loved the youth group. Almost everybody I prayed for seemed to be healed and stayed healed. Hey, and I knew the answer to all the deep theological questions. At 17, I knew why God allowed suffering. And I don't know what changed. I think when I became a young adult, I suppose, doubts started coming into my mind. I doubted some of the things I believed were completely true. And I got a bit disappointed. I got disappointed with others. I remember one of our church leaders shot off with somebody else's wife. My youth leader let me down a bit on one occasion. And people were just downright nasty sometimes. And you get disappointed with other people. They're not all that they seem to be at the time. But you know, there was worse coming down the track. I became disappointed with myself. The honest truth is, when I was 17, I thought if God had 18, I was probably on it. But now I'm a young adult and I look at myself, I think, a bit more realistically. I remember one night I was leading a youth group and the young people were praying and their heads were bowed and I was crying. I remember that night as though it were yesterday, tears streaming down my face because I was so ashamed of something I'd done. And then, of course, I got a bit disappointed with God as well. Some of the people I thought were healed weren't healed. I remember a girl in our church, and we prayed for her to be made well. We prayed hard for her to be made well. She had cancer. We loved her. We met every week and we said, God, heal her. And I can remember one night somebody said, God has told me she is going to be healed. And she died. I remember being with that girl and talking to her. She was about 14. The chemo had taken her hair out. She was beautiful, but she still looked beautiful even though she was bald. And I can remember saying, how are you coping with all of this? And she said a remarkable thing to me. She said, Rob, it's hard on my mum and dad, but I know where I'm going. Now you might call her naive, but she wasn't naive. She was in a lot of pain. But she knew what kings and presidents do not know. She knew where she was going. And you know, sometimes in the midst of my own disappointment with others and myself and with God, sometimes seeing how a young person going through hard times dealt with it impacted me deeply. I wasn't getting all I wanted, but I saw others come through the most difficult times. And you know, it's not just anyway when you're a young adult. I'm in my mid-60s, for goodness sake. And I'm still disappointed with myself. And I'm still disappointed with others. And God often doesn't answer all my prayers with yes. And somehow I have to decide, am I going to go on following him anyway? It was as if Jesus gave a hint of it to his disciples. You know, in the world you can have trouble. Are you going to leave me as well? And it's going to be tough. But you know, in my heart, I love Jesus. You know, sometimes when I'm being interviewed, somebody will say to me, well, Mr. Parsons, your faith in God is a crutch. And I always answer the same way. You know, you're probably right. But I wasn't meant to make it on my own. I was meant to lean on him. I wish I could promise you easy times. I wish I could promise you that all your friends will stay by you forever, that your Christian heroes will never let you down. I wish I could promise you that you'll pass all your exams, that no one will break your heart, that God will answer all your prayers with yes. But you and I know that that's not going to be the case. But in spite of that, could I urge you to go on following Jesus? The Bible says, don't lose heart. Keep your eye on what is unseen, because what we can see is temporary, but what is unseen will last forever. Hey, keep going.